y'all ever have those moments where you just randomly start bleeding and you have no idea why? So I feel like I made it pretty clear in all of these videos up to this point that I am very excited about Modern Warfare 3. That being said, I cannot deny that there's a couple decisions that they've made when developing this game, or a couple of changes that they're making where I'm looking at it and I'm like, what are you guys doing? So first off, let's start by talking about the campaign. I am very excited about the campaign in this game. The story seems really promising. A lot of the gameplay that we've seen and the teasers that we've seen, like, the campaign looks good. That being said, I can't help but feel like the open combat missions are equal parts lazy and equal parts them trying to just merge Warzone into, like, every aspect of the game. For example, in Modern Warfare 2, many of the maps that we received were literally just maps that were stripped out of Al Mazrah or whatever, and there was really only a handful of maps, if any, that were actually original and not from Al Mazrah. Like, the maps that came out at launch, most of those were original, but beyond that, most of the, like, maps that we've gotten throughout the season have just been, like, kind of ripped out of Al Mazrah. And it seems like they're kind of doing that with MW3's campaign, and except instead of, like, Al Mazrah or whatever, it's gonna be, like, for Verdansk. It's literally just gonna be, like, a remake, I guess, of Verdansk, more or less. They're porting the MW 2019 version of Verdansk over to MW3 and then retooling it a bit. They said that they're, like, remaking it, but let's be honest, we know how much crunch they've been under to get this game finished, so it wouldn't surprise me if they actually just, like, ported it and they just kind of redid the assets. And furthermore, I'm pretty sure the only reason that they're even making these missions in the first place is just because of how much crunch they've been under and they don't have time to do anything else. I may be wrong about that, but rather than, like, making these scripted events and these super linear, like, high budget set pieces and such like they normally do, I have a feeling that these open combat missions or non-linear missions are more or less just a way of them giving power and freedom to the player, but more or less it's just going to be like, hey, here's the objective, you got to kill this guy, you can do it however you want. We'll plop you down in this massive area, the old Warzone map, you know, that'll bring in the nostalgia junk. Is anybody actually nostalgic for Verdansk? You know what I mean? Anybody that's, like, missing Verdansk, they can get their fix, they can hop in the campaign and play it, and they also get to do less work in the process. I was hoping to have some actual gameplay in this video, but, like, this game is just, I guess, is Modern Warfare 3 dead again? I had a feeling this was gonna happen. All these kids hop back on when it was, like, you know, big and popular to hop on all the old Call of Duty games, and now they're back on Fortnite or whatever. Y'all just really can't keep these games alive, huh? Finally, we got into a game. Personally, when it comes to my Call of Duty campaigns, I like the typical linear structure of them. I enjoy when they do more open missions, like the one alone from MW2 where they try to switch things up, but otherwise, I like the linear structure, so I really don't want open combat missions to be the new norm. Like, if they put them in there from time to time, I feel like it would be a nice way to switch things up, but I don't want them to become the norm. That's the only really, like, confusing part about the campaign at this current point in time. We'll see how it ends up, you know, playing out once the game comes out. Who knows? They might actually be better than the typical missions, or it might not be. We'll see. I won't be too judgmental. It's just one of those things where, like, I'm open to trying something new, but I won't lie, I'm kind of slightly worried about how this is going to play out. Now let's talk about the multiplayer, because there's, like, a couple of confusing things going on here. So it seems like they're kind of overhauling the perk system completely this year. Basically, instead of the normal perks that we'd have where, you know, you go in, you choose, like, lightweight and toughness and fast hands or whatever, instead this year it's going to be tied to your gear, almost like a looter shooter. So it's not actually going to be a looter shooter. Like, there's not going to be, like, stats tied to each individual piece of gear. But that being said, why do you guys gotta do that? I'm trying to have a fair one-on-one gunfight with one guy, and then there's, like, another dude coming around from the side. Just let me have my one-on-one gunfight. The one example I keep seeing tossed around is the fact that instead of having, like, a lightweight or dead silence perk, there's gonna be a pair of sneakers that you need to put on instead. So rather than wearing, like, you know, your typical army combat boots, if you want that, like, lightweight slash dead silence quote-unquote perk, you're gonna have to put on these sneakers. All right, boys, we're gonna be playing some S&D tonight. Just remember, everybody bring your Nikes. And then I guess for other perks like toughness, I'm sure that'll be, like, a piece of chest gear that you have to put on or something like that. And then maybe for the helmet, like, honestly, I don't know. I'm trying to think about this realistically about, like, what perks they could tie to, like, what part of the body, but I don't even know how this is gonna work necessarily. This is just what we've been told. I don't know if this is gonna be, like, necessarily a one-to-one recreation of the classic perks and they're gonna be, like, ported to these different pieces of gear, or if this is gonna be, like, an entirely new, unique system, and it's just that, like, it's only gonna share similarities with the classic perks, but it's not necessarily gonna be, like, a one-to-one recreation of that original system. I'm also confused about how carryover is gonna work, because Modern Warfare 2 2022 has 100 HP by default, but in Modern Warfare 3 we're gonna have 150 base HP. So how is that going to work for the carryover? Like, are they just going to put a couple of multipliers on some of the weapons and hope that they end up balancing out well with the MW3 weapons? Are they completely retuned? Like, how is this going to work? Are some guns that were good in MW2 going to be trash in MW3? Is it going to be vice versa, where they're too powerful because they were overtuned? Splatoon. Also, how are the attachments going to work? Because apparently you can use most of or all of the Modern Warfare 2 attachments on Modern Warfare 3 weapons, but you'll only be able to use some of the Modern Warfare 3 attachments on Modern Warfare 2 weapons. So there will be a bit of that back and forth where you can use some of the MW3 attachments on MW2 weapons. But that being said, is that only going to apply to MW3, or will that also carry over back to MW2? So say if you set like certain blueprints up in MW3, do those carry over back to MW2 since Warzone with MW3 is going to be integrated with Modern Warfare 2 Warzone 2.0? So if I save a blueprint in MW2 and MW2 Warzone and such, you know, because those are kind of like one and the same, will I only be able to access said blueprint in Warzone and not MW3, or will that carry over to MW3? And then in MW3, if I make blueprints there, will that, I'm sure that'll go over to Warzone, but will that go back to MW2, or MW2, MW3, and Warzone blueprints all going to be completely separate? And when it comes to the attachments on the MW2 weapons, are they actually gonna like work properly since they were made for MW3 guns? I just don't understand how all of this is gonna work, because like I'm assuming Modern Warfare 3 Warzone, there's gonna be like a whole integration there, right? So is there gonna be like some breaking point where like everything can coexist inside of Warzone, but when it comes to using things in MW2 and MW3, there's going to be some disparities there? Because if you can't use your Modern Warfare 3 blueprints and some of the attachments, you know, carry it back to MW2, that would make sense because, you know, they're different games, therefore you would think that the assets don't exist there. But they're going to be existing in Warzone 2, so technically they actually do exist there, so maybe we could have that back and forth. And then zombies. Its existence. That's it. That's the confusing part. I just realized that last game we were using a default class. I forgot that I had to scroll down to get my custom classes. No wonder I was playing so terribly, dude. Those default classes suck. I feel a bit better now that I got my golden laser beam back. Zombies is just like the utmost confusing thing I've ever seen this year. Like, we talked about it in a couple of videos in the past. We're not gonna go too crazy in depth right now, but it's like, it's a mix of like DMZ and Outbreak from Cold War, and I don't know. It's just, it sounds interesting on paper, but the fact that you're going to be limited to 1 hour per match is interesting. Again, they're trying to integrate Warzone into every aspect of the game. The only reason that 1 hour timer and the way that the whole mode in general even works the way it does is because they're trying to make it feel like Warzone. Infilling from the edges of the map and then, you know, going through, looting up before the storm closes in when that, you know, 60-minute limit is up. That's a classic Battle Royale trope. You jump in from the edges of the map, or, you know, you infill wherever, and then you play for a little while, and then slowly over time the storm closes in, and that's what they're doing in zombies this year. And then between like all the looting mechanics and the loadouts and the way that it's sounding, it's just like, yeah, it's totally just a Warzone in zombies. I mean, there is a few innovations there. Like when it comes to the loadout specifically, what I'm referencing is like, so you're going to be able to loot up certain things for your loadout, like ray guns and juggernaut suits and such, and you can either choose to use it in that match, or you can exfil with it and then use it in the next match and kind of like set up a loadout that way. I'm sure we're also going to have like designated loadouts like we did in Cold War and Vanguard as well, where you can actually like make your loadout to spawn in with all the different attachments and camos and stuff. But I have to wonder, are we like not going to be getting that much zombies content this year? Because, you know, they're doing this big map, right? But these big maps, I'm sure they take just as long, if not longer, to develop than like a standard zombies map. So what I'm assuming is going on here is they already have like all these different Warzone maps, and if they're not Warzone maps, then they're probably like Resurgence maps. I guarantee they're just going to be taking like the Resurgence maps or one of those like Warzone LTM type things where they have like a different map going, and they're going to be using those for zombies. So for example, we'll have like the Alcatraz Resurgence for one zombies map, for example, and then the next one will have like an Ashika Island map. Do you get what I'm saying? I truthfully don't believe we're going to be getting unique zombies content this year. I truthfully do believe that they're going to be like recycling a bunch of these like maybe like Resurgence type maps from Warzone and using them both in Warzone and zombies, just so then they can get the most out of their assets. Could I end up being wrong about that? I hope that I'm wrong about that, but I don't see it as being likely, because this isn't like traditional round-based zombies where they have to develop original maps. From the way it's sounding, they could easily just rip that stuff from Warzone and it wouldn't feel too out of place just because of all the mechanics that they have at play there. So, I don't know. We'll have to see how it turns out. I'm, like I said, even though I'm kind of like slightly ranting, slightly confused in this video, I'm still very excited for this game and I'm still very much looking forward to it. Like, I genuinely want to have this game already. My excitement for this game cannot be measured. That being said, considering that I've already put my money down for the Vault edition of the game, you know, it's reasonable that I have some concerns. Again, this isn't one of those things where I'm necessarily complaining. I just have a lot of questions that need to be answered. That is all. But anyways, now I'd love to hear from you guys. What are your guys' thoughts on everything that we talked about in this video? Do you have any concerns about MW3? Maybe, I don't know. Are y'all as confused as I am? Am I just overthinking everything? I mean, probably. That's how I am in real life. I overthink if I'm going to use mustard or honey mustard on my sandwich. But anyway, as always, a massive shout out and thank you to all the patrons and channel members. Thank you to all of you in the low baller tier, and even bigger shout out and thank you to all of you in the big baller tier, Middle Asking, and Big Daddy Manny, and the biggest shout out and thank you to all you in the G tier, Run and Vengeance, Emma Cheese Girl. Thank you guys so much. You guys are literal legends. I love you. Thank you guys for watching. Have an amazing day. Stay beautiful. I love you all. Peace.